Pokemon fans are finally getting that live-action adaptation they've yearned for years. But does Detective Pikachu manage to catch all the fans and casuals alike? My thoughts on the film coming up. What is up, everyone, and welcome to Men vs. Movies. I'm Griffin, as always, and if this is your first time checking out one of our videos, consider hitting that subscribe button where we take on the best and worst of cinema on a weekly basis. Detective Pikachu is directed by Rob Letterman, and it stars Ryan Reynolds, Justice Smith, Catherine Newton, and Bill Nye. After his father's mysterious disappearance, Tim Goodman travels to Rhyme City to find out what exactly happened. While sleuthing around, Tim is met by his father's former partner, a Pikachu, who also happens to be a world-class detective. Discovering they can understand one another, the two team up to unravel the tangled mystery. The notion of a live-action Pokemon movie was enough to excite, truthfully, just about anyone, especially if you were one of those who grew up watching the anime, playing the games, and collecting endless amounts of trading cards. However, what we were unsure of was how exactly these adorable little creatures would translate to a real-world interpretation. Many of us had seen the real-life Pokemon art that circulated the internet, and while those pieces were rather cool and fascinating, seeing them in a live-action movie could be a bit disturbing. Thankfully, the filmmaker's approach carried over the details from those art, recruiting the actual artists who did those pieces to consult and assist with design, and applied it to the classic hand-drawn interpretation we all know and love from the anime and games. The reason I touch on this so much is because the Pokemon come alive in Detective Pikachu, and it's arguably the film's greatest ace in the hole. These creatures are so adorable and authentic, and by the end of the film, you'll be wishing you could take one home with you. Seriously, I would kill to have one of those Bulbasaurs. And truthfully, any chance the filmmakers get to showcase how the Pokemon live and interact in society is endlessly entertaining and contributes to the larger context of how excellent the world building is in Detective Pikachu. Rhyme City is a living, breathing metropolis, and sure, the Pokemon help sell that, but its design and how it's captured truly elevate that. It's incredibly cyberpunk. From the neon lights to the underground battle arenas to the farmers markets along the street, the attention to detail Letterman, cinematographer John Matheson, and the production designers had really shaped the identity of the film. Rhyme City and the surrounding areas became a fully realized society, and one that I might add I absolutely fell in love with and hope to revisit again and again. And speaking of cinematography, John Matheson composes one of the most visually stunning family films I've seen in recent memory. He certainly draws from classic noir and detective capers, along with sci-fi neo-noirs, most notably Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. In fact, Detective Pikachu, in a weird sort of way, feels like the cross between Blade Runner and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There's enough wildly absurd gumshoe intrigue and mayhem to generate a compelling mystery, and actually watching Tim and Pikachu crack the case is great fun, but at its core, Detective Pikachu has a surprisingly mature and resonant heart. Detective Pikachu hones in on damaged relationships, and more specifically, damaged parental relationships, as Tim copes with the regret of not being able to mend things with his father before his untimely disappearance. Pikachu becomes a big part of this as he's Tim's last connection to his father, and Tim also becomes a big part in helping Pikachu cope with his relationship trials as well. As you've seen from that one line of dialogue in the trailer, Pikachu has a tendency to push others away only to be upset when they leave. This character journey is one that many will be able to relate to, and one that's touching to watch as Tim helps to break down those barriers and ease Pikachu's pain. It was refreshing to see this deep and thoughtful examination of complex relationships addressed in a Pokemon movie, let alone a family film. And perhaps the most impressive part of it was how the filmmakers tailored this film to such a wide audience. Parents and older viewers will not only enjoy the throwback to classic capers, but appreciate appreciate Detective Pikachu's grounded approach to tackling relatable and mature themes. And the best part is, younger viewers aren't alienated in the slightest. Everything is conveyed in a way that treats the children in the audience with respect, while occasionally giving us a flashback to hammer home some of the more important details. These flashbacks never detract from the narrative, but there were a bit too many for my taste, and it teetered on the edge of becoming tedious. That being said, I truly appreciated how universally family-friendly it was, and actually I'll go as far as to say that Detective Pikachu is the best family adventure film I've seen in a very long time. Sure, the plot's predictable, but it doesn't matter when you're having this much fun. All of this, of course, is enhanced by two endearing performances by Justice Smith and Ryan Reynolds. Justice Smith truly impressed me here. I know a lot of you didn't like him in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, understandably so, but here, he's really given an opportunity to showcase his acting chops. He showed such vulnerability and range, giving the character such a relatable persona and landing some of those more comedic beats as well. Ryan Reynolds is, of course, perfect as Pikachu, and similar to Smith, adds a fair amount of nuanced texture, giving this character a whole other emotional side you don't really see in the trailers. Yes, Reynolds is comedic gold, and many of his character quirks are charming and funny, but they never detract from the fact that Pikachu feels like a real character, and Reynolds slips into this role perfectly. Now, while I love the performances of the two leads, there were two additional performances that felt tonally off in contrast, followed by a disappointing villain. There's an aspiring journalist played by Katherine Newton who feels like she might be overdoing it just a tad. It's as if she's ripped right out of the Pokemon show, which would have been fine had everything else not felt so real and grounded. And I also felt her character arc wasn't given the proper depth it should have had. That being said, her Psyduck partner is a real scene stealer. Similar to Newton's character, Tim comes across this underground Pokemon trainer who really feels like a gym leader ripped right out of the games or anime. Once again, not a problem had the pre-established characters and world not felt so real. As for the film's main villain, something rather interesting was established early on that I thought was going to parallel Tim and his father's relationship in a compelling way. Unfortunately, the film takes a more conventional route as that thoughtful approach is discarded and the villain becomes maniacal and mustache twirling. Before I give you my final verdict on Detective Pikachu, guys, why don't you take a second here and like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more movie reviews and movie-related content on a weekly basis. I absolutely loved Detective Pikachu and found it to be one of the more sincere and moving family adventure films I've seen in a long time. The world is striking and beautiful with its inhabitants, the Pokemon, who charm you to no end. It's a fun mystery adventure in the same vein as Who Framed Roger Rabbit, mixed with the visual flair of Blade Runner, and cultivates a dynamic relationship between its two leads. Tim and Pikachu have surprisingly mature and resonant character arcs that many will relate to, and the best part is it never dumbs down the material to appease a younger audience. It treats its viewers with respect and manages to be a universal film for everyone. And so, for all of those reasons and the reasons I've mentioned throughout my review, I'm ultimately going to be giving Detective Pikachu Armored Up. And now I want to hear from you all. I want to know what your favorite Pokemon is down in the comments section below. And if you've seen Detective Pikachu, be sure to let me know that as well down there. As always, guys, you can like Men vs. Movies on Facebook, follow us on Twitter simply by searching Men vs. Movies. And lastly, if you like me specifically and you like what I have to say, you can give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right, that's going to do it for this review. And until next time, take care.